There are places on Earth where time seems to pause, where the landscape breathes, whispers, and reminds us of our place in the universe. Welcome to Patagonia, the land at the bottom of the world, where mountains pierce the sky, glaciers carve the valleys, and winds shape everything in their path. For centuries, this remote wilderness has inspired explorers, adventurers, and dreamers. And now, we invite you to step beyond the ordinary and journey into one of the most untamed and breathtaking regions on the planet. From ancient glaciers that have witnessed millennia, to windswept plains where life thrives against all odds. From hidden islands in the roaring South Atlantic to the vibrant culture of the people who call this land home, Patagonia is more than a destination. It is a story written in stone, ice, and wind. Are you ready to witness the edge of the world? There are places on our planet where the world feels untouched, where silence has weight, and where landscapes look as if they belong to another age. Patagonia is one of those rare corners of Earth that feels ancient, raw, and impossibly wild. And as you enter this land at the bottom of the world, something becomes immediately clear. This isn't just a destination, it's an awakening, a reminder that there are still places where nature rules, and humans are only visitors drifting across its vast, unpredictable canvas. Here, the winds don't simply blow, they roar, sculpting plains and mountains with the same force they roar. Sculpting plains and mountains with the same force they've carried for thousands of years. The sky stretches endlessly, wide and empty, like a dome, suspended over the final edge of human exploration. And beneath that sky lies a landscape so varied that it feels impossible. Ice fields that glitter like frozen oceans, deserts that stretch toward the horizon, jagged peaks rising like broken stone cathedrals, and deep blue lakes glowing with glacial minerals. The journey into Patagonia begins long before you step foot on its soil. It begins with stories whispered by travelers and explorers, stories of storms that appear without warning, of mountains hidden behind swirling clouds, of sunrises so powerful they silence even the wildest heart. And when the airplane window finally reveals your first glimpse of this land, it becomes clear that the legends were true. Patagonia is vast. It is uninhabited. It is unfiltered nature in its purest form. The first steps into this wilderness feel surreal. The air is colder, sharper, almost metallic. The ground beneath your feet feels ancient, as if it has witnessed millennia pass without ever losing its spirit. Along the roads, trees bend permanently in one direction, sculpted by winds that sweep across the continent. Guanacos stand motionless on distant hills, silhouettes against the sky, watching silently as you enter their world. Every detail, every sound, every breath reminds you that this land doesn't conform to human time. Patagonia moves at its own pace, obeys its own rules, and demands a quiet kind of respect. As the journey deepens, the immensity of the region becomes overwhelming. Endless plains roll like frozen waves, stretching for hundreds of kilometers without a single sign of human life. Clouds race overhead, as if chased by invisible storms. The weather changes within minutes, sunlight one moment, fog the next, and then a sudden burst of rain carried by the wind. Yet in this unpredictability lies Patagonia's beauty. It is a place that refuses to be tamed, a land where nature still holds the final word. Then, on the horizon, Patagonia begins to reveal its hidden giants. Mountain ranges push upward like towering spines of the earth. Snow clings to their peaks even in the warmest months. Glaciers glisten in the distance, mysterious and silent. There is a moment, standing before them, when the scale of the world reshapes itself. You feel small, you feel humbled, but above all, you feel alive. Patagonia's magic lies not only in its landscapes, but in how it changes you. The vastness forces you to slow down, to breathe deeper, to look longer. The silence becomes a companion. The wind becomes a storyteller. And every sunrise feels like the beginning of an ancient tale that has been unfolding long before you arrived and will continue long after you leave. This is the introduction to a land unlike any other, a place that redefines wilderness and reminds us that Earth still holds wonders beyond imagination. And as we continue deeper into Patagonia, the journey will take us to its icy heart, to towering glaciers, roaring rivers, and mountains that guard secrets written in stone. The adventure begins here, at the edge of the world, where Patagonia opens its door wild, rugged, and breathtakingly alive. As we move deeper into Patagonia, one of its most extraordinary wonders rises before us. The southern Patagonian ice field, a silent kingdom of blue ice, stretching endlessly across the horizon. This is one of the largest ice fields on Earth outside the polar regions, a frozen world so vast and so ancient that stepping near it feels like touching the memory of the planet itself. Every crack, every ripple of ice carries the weight of thousands of years. Here, the journey leads us to one of Patagonia's greatest icons, Perito Moreno Glacier. At first glance, the sheer scale of it seems impossible to comprehend. The glacier towers above the turquoise water like a colossal frozen wall, its jagged peaks glowing with shades of white and electric blue. But it's not still. Perito Moreno is alive. It breathes, it moves, it cracks and collapses in thunderous explosions that echo across the valley. Standing before it, you feel the raw power of nature in its purest form. Massive chunks of ice break away and crash into the water, sending waves rolling outward like the heartbeat of a giant. The sound is unforgettable, deep, booming, ancient. Travelers often describe this moment as spiritual, and it's easy to understand why. In front of a glacier that predates human civilization, all your worries dissolve. You're reminded that the world is far older, far stronger, and far more mysterious than our day-to-day lives allow us to imagine. As you walk along the wooden pathways overlooking the Prosom, creatures wander along the pathways, fearless and playful. Birds sing unseen melodies, and in the dense green shadows, the air feels ancient. This isn't just a waterfall. It's the beating heart of a rainforest that has survived for millennia. As the mist rises, the rainbows appear not one, but many, bending and twisting in the sunlight. The spectacle changes every minute. Morning brings golden light filtering through the spray, while sunset turns everything fiery orange and pink. And when the moon is full, something magical happens. The falls glow under the moonlight, creating a lunar rainbow, a sight so surreal it feels like stepping into another world. The Brazilian side of the falls gives you the grand view, the sweeping panorama, where you can see the entire network of cascades tumbling into the abyss. Walk along the trails, and each step reveals a new angle, a new rhythm of water. But venture deeper into the park, and you'll find the quieter side of Iguatu, hidden lagoons, crystal streams, and the distant calls of howler monkeys echoing through the canopy. The strength of the river is humbling. Billions of liters of water crash down every second, yet everything feels peaceful, as if nature has found balance within its chaos. You can feel it in the air, the negative ions from the water, making you feel alive, renewed, connected. Travelers often describe it as a kind of awakening. Here, surrounded by mist and thunder, you're reminded that the earth isn't something and unpredictable. As you travel through these frozen worlds, you begin to understand something deeper. Patagonia is a place where time becomes visible, where the past and present blur, where ice carries stories older than humanity, and where the earth reveals its power in every shape and color. The sun begins to set, painting the glacier in tones of pink and gold, and the transformation is almost magical. The same ice that looked harsh and imposing under daylight becomes soft and dreamlike at dusk. Shadows lengthen, the wind calms, and the world grows still. In these final minutes of light, Patagonia feels like a place suspended between reality and myth. If Patagonia's glaciers are its frozen heartbeat, then its mountains are the towering spirit that defines its very identity. As dawn breaks, a new silhouette rises through the fading darkness, sharp, jagged, impossibly vertical. This is the edge of the world, where mountains seem less like rock and more like ancient guardians carved by the winds of time. The moment the first beam of sunlight touches Patagonia's peaks, everything changes. Shadows pull away, colors transform. The cold blue of night melts into a brilliant orange glow, and suddenly, standing before you, is one of the most iconic mountain ranges on Earth, the Fitzroy Massif. It doesn't merely stand tall, it pierces the sky with a confidence that feels almost otherworldly. Fitzroy is not a mountain you simply look at. It's a mountain you feel. Its presence radiates a kind of silent intensity, as if it's aware of the millions who have gazed at it with awe. The granite spires rise like giant stone flames frozen mid-eruption. Clouds curl around the peaks in slow motion, painting a scene that seems crafted for myth, not reality. As you trek through the valley, toward the mountain, the world opens into a panorama so vast, so clean, so untouched, that it almost resets your mind. The air feels lighter here, thinner, sharper. Each step crunches on the earth with a clarity that heightens your senses. And as the trail climbs upward, the forests begin to thin, giving way to rocky terrain and roaring winds that sweep across the open landscapes. At the viewpoint of Laguna de los Tres, Patagonia delivers a moment that stays with travelers for a lifetime. A turquoise glacial lake shimmers beneath the towering walls of Mount Fitzroy. The water is so still it reflects the entire mountain like a perfect mirror. From this height, you can feel the altitude in your breath, but you also feel something else. An overwhelming sense of insignificance, mixed with immense gratitude. Few places on Earth make humans feel as small, yet as alive, as this one. Beyond Fitzroy, Patagonia reveals another masterpiece of stone and ice, the Torres del Paine. 3 colossal granite towers rising like spears toward the heavens. They are raw, imposing, carved by glacial winds for over 12 million years. Approaching them feels like venturing into an ancient cathedral built not by human hands but by the forces of nature itself. The trail to the base of the Torres is not easy. It winds through forests, across rivers, and up steep terrain. But every step brings you closer to the heart of one of the world's most dramatic landscapes. When the towers finally appear, their scale is staggering. The sheer vertical walls, rising endlessly upward, create a sense of awe so powerful that even seasoned travelers fall silent. It's as if the mountains command respect and instantly receive it. Wind rushes around the peaks, carrying with it the cold breath of glaciers. Clouds race overhead, constantly reshaping the view, and with every passing minute, the mountains reveal a new face. One moment they are fierce and intimidating, the next, gentle and glowing under the soft light of evening. This is the magic of Patagonia. Its landscapes never repeat themselves. Every hour brings a new color, a new mood, a new version of nature's masterpiece. As the day fades, the mountains shift into shades of purple and deep blue. The last light touches their peaks, creating a fiery crown that slowly dims into darkness. Night in Patagonia is unlike anywhere else. Stars spill across the sky in numbers so vast they look like rivers of light. The Milky Way arches above the mountains, as if the heavens themselves have descended to meet the earth. And in this silence, this vast, enchanting silence, you understand why explorers, photographers, climbers, and dreamers from around the world come to Patagonia. It's not just the beauty. It's the feeling of stepping into a world that reminds you how wild, untamed, and magnificent our planet still is. In Patagonia, the land may look empty at first glance, but don't be fooled. This wilderness is alive. Every plain, every valley, Every remote corner pulses with creatures perfectly adapted to one of the harshest environments on Earth. And once you begin to notice them, Patagonia transforms from a barren frontier into a thriving kingdom of resilience. It starts with a flicker of movement on the distant horizon. A shape darts across the golden grasslands, fast, graceful, almost weightless. This is the guanaco, Patagonia's wild camelid, and one of its most iconic animals. With long legs built for speed and a keen sense of danger, guanacos travel in herds that move like waves across the steppe. Their soft calls echo through the wind, creating a soundtrack that has carried through the region for thousands of years. But where guanacos roam, a shadow often follows. High on a rocky ledge, silent and hidden, watches one of the most elusive predators on Earth, the Patagonian puma. Known locally as the ghost of the Andes, the puma embodies the true spirit of the wild. It moves with absolute precision, slow, steady, patient. Many travelers cross the region without ever seeing one. Yet the puma sees everything. In the early morning, when the light is cold and the valleys are covered in mist, pumas emerge to hunt. Their presence is felt long before they are seen. The rustling of grass, the tension in a guanaco herd, the sudden stillness of the wind. And then, like a whisper, the big cat step into view, powerful, silent, regal. Patagonia has many wonders, but witnessing a puma in its domain is a privilege only a few ever experience. Away from the forests and mountains, life thrives in unexpected places. Along the windswept coastline of the Atlantic, the land meets the sea in a spectacular clash of waves and cliffs. Here, Patagonia reveals a gentler, yet equally captivating side of its wildlife. Thousands of Magellanic penguins waddle along the shores, digging burrows and calling to their mates. These birds may look comical on land, but once they enter the water, they transform into torpedoes of speed and agility. Further down the coast, enormous elephant seals gather to rest on the beaches. Their sheer size is staggering. Males can weigh over 4,000 kilograms. They battle for dominance with thunderous roars that echo across the shore. And nearby, sea lions bask in the sun, scattered across rocky outcrops, letting the ocean spray wash over them. But Patagonia's wildlife story wouldn't be complete without the giants of the sea. In the deep blue waters off the Valdez Peninsula, southern right whales return every year to breed and raise their young. Their presence is humbling. As they glide through the water, their massive tails rise from the surface like ancient relics. The sound of their exhale, deep, powerful, unforgettable, lingers long after they disappear into the ocean's depths. In the skies above, condors soar with wings that span nearly 3 meters. These are the kings of the air, riding thermal currents with a grace that seems impossible for such enormous birds. To watch a condor circle above the mountains is to witness a symbol of Patagonia's endless freedom. As you travel deeper into this land, you begin to understand something important. Patagonia's wildlife is not separate from the landscape. It is the landscape. Every animal, from the smallest bird to the largest predator, plays a crucial role in this delicate, untamed ecosystem. The windswept plains, the towering peaks, the frigid coastline, the ancient forests, all of it is connected. All of it breathes. As the sun sets, the animals retreat into the shadows, and the land grows quiet once more. The night sky blooms with stars, and the wilderness sinks into its timeless rhythm. In Patagonia, life isn't just surviving, it's thriving, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by those patient enough to look. There are places on this earth where time feels frozen, where the world stands silent, suspended between sky and ice. And in Patagonia, that place is unmistakable. It is here, among vast fields of ancient blue ice, that you realize just how small you truly are. Welcome to Patagonia's Kingdom of Glaciers, a world carved by cold, sculpted by wind, and ruled by forces older than human history itself. You first see it from a distance, an icy wall rising out of the landscape like a fortress built by giants. The closer you get, the more unreal it becomes. Shades of white, turquoise, and deep sapphire swirl together in towering pinnacles and jagged crevasses. This is the Perito Moreno Glacier, one of the most famous and awe-inspiring wonders of the Southern Hemisphere. Standing before it is like standing at the edge of another planet. The air cools instantly. The wind shifts, and then, suddenly a thunderous crack rips through the stillness. Massive chunks of ice break free and collapse into the water, exploding in shimmering spray. The sound rolls across the valley like distant cannon fire. This process, called calving, is both violent and mesmerizing. A reminder that glaciers are not frozen in time. They are alive, constantly moving, constantly reshaping the world around them. But Perito Moreno is only the beginning. Deeper in the Andes lies a colossal realm known as the Southern Patagonian ice field, the second largest body of ice outside the polar regions. From above, it looks like an endless ocean of frozen waves, stretching toward the horizon. Hidden within this icy wilderness is Glacier Gray, a river of ice that flows for over 30 kilometers. Its surreal blue tones shift with the light, transforming from pale silver to electrifying crystal blue as clouds pass overhead. And then there is Viedma Glacier, a jagged landscape of razor-sharp ice ridges and deep sinkholes. Here, the ice seems to breathe, groaning and shifting under its own weight. Explorers who step onto its surface feel like they're walking on the spine of some ancient frozen beast. What makes Patagonia's glaciers even more extraordinary is their story. A story written not in words, but in ice. Each layer contains trapped air from thousands of years ago, tiny bubbles that have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. Touching the surface is like touching the memory of the planet itself. The landscape surrounding these glaciers is just as breathtaking. Turquoise lakes lie at their feet, filled with mineral-rich meltwater that glows with an ethereal light. Icebergs the size of houses drift slowly, silently, shaping the waters they inhabit. And above it all, towering peaks loom like guardians, sharp, angular, carved by centuries of glacial erosion. But Patagonia's frozen world is not just powerful, it is delicate. Climate change has begun to leave its mark here, just as it has across the globe. Many glaciers retreat year after year, shrinking under rising temperatures. Others, like Perito Moreno, remain surprisingly stable for now. Every crack, every collapse, every shifting ridge is a reminder that this icy kingdom is both ancient and vulnerable. As you continue deeper into this realm, the silence becomes overwhelming. The only sounds are the wind and the distant rumble of moving ice. Time seems to slow, and you begin to feel the scale of this place not just in its size, but in its age. These glaciers were here before humans walked the earth. They have witnessed the birth of continents, the migrations of species, and the endless turning of the seasons. To stand here is to witness Earth's rawest form, untouched, unchanged, unforgiving, a place where the past, present, and future collide in shimmering blue towers and endless frozen plains. As the day fades, the ice glows softly under the last golden light. Shadows stretch across the valley, and the land settles into a colder, deeper silence. You turn away, carrying with you the overwhelming realization that Patagonia holds some of the most extraordinary frozen wonders left on our planet. But this journey is far from over. Ahead lies a region where mountains rise like ancient gods, sharp and towering, sculpted by the same ice you just walked among. A land of legendary peaks, fierce winds, and landscapes so dramatic they feel almost unreal. Next, we enter Patagonia's mountain kingdom. Some landscapes look dramatic. Patagonia's mountains do something more. They challenge everything you think you know about Earth. The moment you see them, one truth becomes clear. These peaks were never meant to be gentle. They were carved to be unforgettable. In this chapter, we step into a world defined by impossible angles, sheer granite walls, and weather that changes its mind every few minutes. This is the mountain kingdom of Patagonia, raw, wild, and overwhelmingly alive. The journey begins at the foot of one of the most iconic silhouettes on Earth, Monte Fitzroy, a jagged crown of stone piercing straight into the sky. At sunrise, the granite glows a fiery orange, as if lit from within. Clouds swirl around its spires like drifting smoke. Photographs cannot prepare you for it. Standing beneath Fitzroy is a moment that feels almost spiritual. You sense the weight of the centuries that shaped it, the winds that sculpted it, the glaciers that chiseled its sides. And then there's Cerro Torre, the legend, the myth, the impossible mountain. Rising like a spear made of ice and stone, it narrows into a perfect needle at the top. For decades, climbers considered it unclimbable, a peak too smooth, too steep, too unforgiving. Its summit is often crowned by a mushroom-shaped cap of rime ice, giving it an almost supernatural appearance. When storms roll in, Cerro Torre disappears completely, swallowed by clouds, then re-emerges like a phantom tower standing against the wind. But Patagonia's mountains are not just peaks. They are gateways into entire worlds. Valleys open into vast plains of grass and shrubs, where herds of guanacos leap gracefully between rocky outcrops. Rivers born from ancient glaciers wind through the landscape in shimmering blue ribbons, and waterfalls cascade from snowfields high above, plunging with primal strength into hidden pools. One of the most extraordinary places in this region is Torres del Paine National Park, considered by many to be the crown jewel of South America. Its signature peaks, the Torres themselves, rise in 3 colossal granite pillars, each one sculpted into near-perfect vertical walls. They stand like guardians over the entire valley, towering above turquoise lakes, wind-bent forests, and endless fields of golden steppe. As you explore deeper into Torres del Paine, you feel the wind change. Patagonia's wind is no ordinary breeze. It is a force of nature, capable of knocking you off your feet without warning. Locals often joke that the wind has a personality, and they're not wrong. It roars through the valleys at incredible speeds, shaping the clouds into dramatic waves across the sky. Sometimes it arrives gently, whispering across the grass. Other times it strikes like a living creature, howling with an intensity you feel in your bones. The park's lakes reflect the wildness perfectly. Lake Pahoe shines with impossible gemstone blue tones. Lake Nordenskjöld glows with a milky turquoise hue created by glacial minerals. And Grey Lake carries drifting icebergs, each one a tiny piece of the glacier frontier, slowly melting into the vast landscape. As you continue walking between mountain viewpoints, the wildlife reveals itself quietly but unmistakably. A Patagonian fox glances from behind a rock before darting away. A condor, the giant of the Andes, circles overhead, its massive wings casting shadows across the cliffs below. And if you're lucky, you might catch sight of the elusive puma, moving silently through the brush like a ghost of the mountains. But as beautiful as Patagonia's mountains are, they are also humbling. Weather can shift from sunshine to sleet in minutes. Clouds race across the sky in unpredictable formations. Even the ground beneath your feet tells a story of glaciers that once covered everything, of volcanic activity that shaped the terrain, of tectonic forces that thrust these peaks upward millions of years ago. And then comes the moment you've been waiting for. A final view at golden hour. The mountains turn shades of gold, pink, and fiery red as the sun sinks low on the horizon. The wind softens just enough to allow the lakes to reflect the peaks in calm, glass-like clarity. The entire landscape glows, as if someone has set the world on fire. This is Patagonia at its most cinematic, its most powerful, its most breathtaking. Here, surrounded by the giants of stone and ice, you realize something profound. Patagonia does not exist to be visited. It exists to be visited. It exists to be witnessed once, fully, and with deep respect. The mountains demand your attention, your stillness, and your awe. And yet the journey continues. Beyond these towering peaks and sunlit valleys lies another world waiting to be discovered. Patagonia's wild frontiers of windswept plains, hidden forests, and ancient myths. A region where human history, indigenous tradition, and raw wilderness intersect in ways found nowhere else on Earth. Some places you visit, others you feel. Patagonia belongs to the second kind, and nowhere is that more powerful than in its cultural heart, where ancient stories drift across the land like the Patagonian wind, and the people who call this region home carry a connection to nature that most of the world has forgotten. In this chapter, we step beyond landscapes into the soul of Patagonia. The first thing you notice when you arrive in these remote settlements is the silence. Not the absence of sound, but a deep, soothing quiet that seems to hum beneath everything, beneath the mountains, beneath the rivers, beneath each breath you take. It's the kind of silence that invites reflection. And it's in that silence that Patagonia's oldest stories still live. Long before modern travelers arrived, this land was home to the Tehuelche people, one of the oldest indigenous groups in South America. They were nomads of the wind, moving across the plains with the seasons, following herds and reading the landscape like a living map. Their legends speak of giant spirits, guardian animals, and constellations that shape the world. Even today, some of those same stories are carved into rock walls, ancient hands painting images of guanacos, hunters, and celestial symbols thousands of years ago. One of the most iconic of these places is Cueva de las Manos, the Cave of Hands. Nestled deep in a remote canyon, this archaeological wonder is covered in hundreds of stenciled handprints, red, black, white, and brown. Seeing them in person is an emotional experience. Most of the hands are small, belonging to teenagers and children. You realize suddenly that they weren't trying to create art. They were trying to say, we were here. They were reaching across time. And now, thousands of years later, you're reaching back. But Patagonia's culture is not just ancient, it's alive. In small towns and rural outposts, you meet gauchos, the legendary horsemen of the southern frontier. For centuries, gauchos lived by skills passed down through generations. Horseback riding, sheep herding, leatherwork, survival in fierce landscapes. To watch a gaucho move with a horse is like watching two bodies share a single rhythm. It's not just riding, it's communication, respect, partnership. Spend just a few hours with local families, and you discover something essential. Patagonian hospitality is warm, generous, and deeply human. People here live close to the land, but closer still to each other. A shared fire, a cup of mate, a plate of lamb, slow roasted over open coals. These aren't just traditions, they are rituals of connection. One of the most memorable experiences is the asado patagonico, a traditional method of cooking lamb on a large iron frame set around an open flame. The meat cooks slowly for hours, absorbing smoke from native wood and gathering incredible flavor. It's a meal that tastes like the landscape itself, wild, simple, and unforgettable. And when you sit around the fire with the locals, listening to stories about storms, mountains, ancient myths, and long rides across the pampas, you feel something shift. You're no longer a visitor, you're part of the circle. But perhaps the most moving cultural experience in Patagonia is the connection people have with the land. Here, nature isn't a backdrop, it's a companion. Locals speak of mountains as protectors, rivers as lifelines, and winds as teachers. They know the moods of the weather, the paths of the animals, and the stories hidden in every valley. In a world that often feels rushed, digitized, and disconnected, Patagonia offers something rare: a way of life, rooted in awareness. And yeah, life here is not easy. Winters are harsh, winds relentless, distances immense. But the people of Patagonia carry a resilience that feels almost timeless. They endure, They adapt. They celebrate the smallest beauty, a sunrise, a wildflower in the steppe, the call of a bird drifting across the hills. And in that resilience, you glimpse the true spirit of this land. As you travel through quiet villages, wooden houses painted in bright colors, and dusty roads stretching into the horizon, you begin to understand. Culture here is not made of monuments. It's made of moments, shared, carried, remembered. You pass through ranches where sheep graze freely across golden fields. You see craftsmen shaping leather by hand, the same way their fathers and grandfathers did. You meet artists inspired by the fierce wind, the jagged mountains, the endless sky, and you feel the pulse of a living heritage pueblos who survived centuries of change and whose traditions still guide life today. And then comes evening. The sun drops behind distant peaks, painting the land in soft purples and golds. Smoke drifts from chimneys. Horses return to their corrals. A sense of calm settles over everything. In that moment, Patagonia doesn't feel remote or wild, it feels deeply human. This is the Patagonia few people see. A land not just of dramatic beauty, but of memory, culture, and connection. A world shaped not only by the forces of nature, but by the hands, stories, and dreams of those who have lived here for centuries. As night rises and the stars ignite across the sky, the journey moves forward. Ahead lies an even wilder frontier, Patagonia's ice world, where colossal glaciers carve the land and time itself seems to freeze in motion. Some landscapes make you whisper, others make you gasp. But Patagonia's ice world, it steals your breath before you even understand what you're looking at. This is a place where time slows, where ancient ice groans like a living creature, and where every shade of blue seems pulled from another universe. Welcome to the frozen kingdom of Patagonia, where Earth reveals its oldest memories. Your journey begins at the edge of a colossal wall of ice. Perito Moreno Glacier, nearly 250 square kilometers of frozen mass rising from turquoise water, glowing like a cathedral sculpted by winter itself. The moment you see it, you feel small, not weak, just humbled. Perito Moreno is alive. You hear it crack, shift, and breathe. Every few minutes, a thunderous roar explodes across the valley as huge chunks of ice collapse into the lake below. It's like watching a mountain move. Stand here long enough, and you begin to notice the details, the deep sapphire crevices, the shattered white ridges, the silver lines formed by centuries of snowfall, compacting into ancient ice. This glacier is one of the few still growing in a world of melting ice, and that alone feels like a miracle. As you sail across Lago Argentino, the water turns milky turquoise, a color created by rock flour, tiny particles ground by glaciers over thousands of years. Icebergs float silently around you, drifting like giant sculptures carved by time. Some glow with bright crystal blues, others shimmer like frosted glass. There's something almost spiritual about gliding past them. You sense the weight of history, the truth that these massive blocks fell from ice that formed long before humans kept records. But Patagonia's ice world is far larger than one glacier. Deep within the southern Patagonian ice field, hidden behind jagged peaks and storm-filled skies, lies one of the greatest ice expanses on Earth. Valleys of frozen white stretch beyond the horizon. Mountain summits slice through clouds like stone islands rising from a sea of snow. Wind blasts across the ice with a sound like distant whispers. For explorers and climbers, this is holy ground. And for the few who manage to trek inside, Patagonia's frozen world becomes something more than stunning. It becomes alive with danger. Weather shifts here in seconds. A calm morning can transform into a whiteout storm without warning. But in that harshness lies the magnetic pull of Patagonia, the feeling that you are standing at the edge of the world, witnessing something untouched and eternal. One of the most iconic symbols of this ice realm is Mount Fitzroy, its jagged spires piercing the sky like a crown carved by fire and frost. The mountain glows differently throughout the day: soft rose at sunrise, molten gold at sunset, deep violet as night begins. Climbers from across the world travel here for a chance to stand beneath its towering walls. And even if you never climb it, just watching the clouds drift across its peak feels like witnessing a dream. But the most mesmerizing experience may be the hike to Laguna de los Tres. The final ascent is steep, but when you reach the top, the world opens around you. There, beneath Fitzroy's throne, lies a lake glowing with glacial turquoise. The wind cuts across your face, the sky stretches infinite above you, and for a moment, the world feels perfectly still. It's a sight you'll carry for the rest of your life. Further south, you find another giant, Gray Glacier, stretching out like an icy ocean locked in time. From the viewpoints of Torres del Paine, you can see it winding like a frozen river, carving its way between mountains. The air here is crisp, sharp, filled with the scent of cold stone and snow. Every breath feels new. Every sound echoes with the weight of distance. And beyond the glaciers, the land reveals something even more surprising. Tiny flowers, purple, pink, yellow, bloom defiantly against the snow. Guanacos wander across icy plains, their warm breath fading into the cold morning air. Condors glide overhead, wings spanning 3 meters, riding the freezing winds like ancient guardians of the mountains. Here, in the kingdom of ice, life refuses to surrender. Perhaps that's the most powerful truth Patagonia teaches. Beauty is not just found in comfort. Sometimes it lives in the raw, the fierce, the unforgiving, in the cracking of glaciers that echo like the heartbeat of the earth, in the endless blue corridors of ancient ice. In a world so old, even silence feels sacred. As the day ends, the ice begins to glow. Soft blue turns to gold. Gold fades to silver. And then, as night takes over, the glaciers reflect the first stars of Patagonia's dark sky, stars so bright they seem close enough to touch. Standing here at the edge of the frozen world, you understand why people cross oceans just to see this place. Patagonia's ice is not just cold, it's alive. It's ancient. It's a reminder of what the planet once was, and what it still protects. Imagine a place where silence feels ancient, where the earth doesn't just exist, it breathes. A place where the wind roars like a living force, sculpting the land into shapes that seem carved from another world. Here, Patagonia reveals one of its most mysterious treasures, the remote and isolated island chains scattered across the wild South Atlantic. These are places almost untouched by time, fragile, windswept, impossibly beautiful. And in this chapter, we venture into the farthest edges of the continent, where life persists against every odd, and where nature shows just how far it's willing to go to survive. The islands of Patagonia have always carried an air of mystery. Remote, rugged, and often unseen by most travelers, they sit like fragments of a shattered world, lonely pieces of land where the rules of life are rewritten. As our journey begins, the first thing we notice is the sound, the distant crash of waves, the low rumble of wind, and the piercing calls of seabirds that thrive in this isolated ecosystem. Every corner of these islands feels like a sanctuary, preserved by nature's fierce protection. Many of these islands are home to wildlife found nowhere else on Earth. Colonies of penguins waddle across the shorelines, their movements clumsy on land but impossibly graceful in water. They gather in huge numbers, forming bustling communities that transform remote beaches into roaring, living amphitheaters. Their calls echo against the cliffs, blending with the wind to create a soundtrack that belongs only to Patagonia. Further inland, giant elephant seals lounge across the sand, their enormous bodies rising and falling with each heavy breath. Their presence feels prehistoric creatures from a time before humans walked these coasts. They battle for territory, their deep bellows carrying across the waves as they clash in displays of raw power. Watching them is like witnessing a ritual written into their DNA, unchanged for thousands of years. Above them, albatrosses spread their massive wings and glide effortlessly through the wind. These birds travel entire oceans, navigating storms and crossing impossible distances. Yet they return to these isolated islands to rest, nest, and raise their young. There is something poetic about their loyalty to this place, as if the islands hold a magnetic pull that even the greatest travelers on Earth cannot resist. But Patagonia's islands hold more than wildlife. They are also home to stories of exploration, survival, and conflict. Early sailors feared these waters, calling them some of the most dangerous anywhere in the world. Ferocious winds, unpredictable currents, and cliffs hidden beneath the waves turned these coasts into a graveyard of lost ships. Many vessels that attempted to cross here never returned. Their remains swallowed by the ocean or smashed against the rocks. Even today, the sea demands respect, reminding every visitor that this landscape has little patience for arrogance. Yet despite these challenges, human history remains etched into the land. Abandoned lighthouses stand on cliffs, their towers weathered by centuries of storms. They are reminders of a time when sailors risked everything for exploration, trade, or simply to prove that they could conquer the bottom of the world. These structures still glow at night, guiding ships and watching over a place where nature always has the final word. But perhaps the greatest marvel of these islands is their ability to remain wild. In a world that is constantly changing, these remote lands stay true to themselves. Their isolation protects them, their harsh weather guards them, and the creatures that live here adapt in ways that remind us how powerful nature can be when left undisturbed. As the sun sets, something extraordinary happens. The islands glow in hues of gold and fire, the cliffs turning bright red as the light sweeps across them. Penguins return from the sea, seals settle into the sand, and the sky endless. Infinite blazes with colors that look almost unreal. It's a moment that feels suspended in time, untouched, sacred. Patagonia's islands teach us something important. Beauty doesn't always reveal itself easily. Sometimes, the most breathtaking places in the world exist far beyond comfort, beyond convenience, beyond everything familiar. But when you reach them, when you feel the wind, hear the waves, and witness life thriving in ways few eyes have ever seen, you understand why these islands are considered one of the last great frontiers of Earth. As our journey through Patagonia reaches its final chapter, a sense of reverence settles over the landscape. Here, at the bottom of the world, time seems to move differently. The mountains, glaciers, and windswept plains have existed for millions of years, indifferent to human ambition, yet generous enough to reveal their secrets to those willing to witness them. In this chapter, we explore the wildest and most untamed corners of Patagonia, where the land, the sky, and the sea converge in a symphony of raw power and delicate beauty. We begin at the Patagonian Steppe, a vast expanse of golden grassland stretching beyond the horizon. It is deceptively simple at first glance, a seemingly endless plain of wind-sculpted grasses and rolling hills. But spend time here, and the subtle details emerge: the gentle rise of a ridge, the shadow of a distant condor gliding overhead, the trail of a lone guanaco etched into the soft soil. Life here is sparse, yet resilient. Every living thing seems perfectly adapted to the harsh conditions, and the steppe hums with quiet, understated energy. As we move westward toward the coast, the landscape transforms dramatically. The Patagonian Fjords reveal a world carved by glaciers and time. Deep, narrow inlets twist and turn between jagged cliffs, their waters shimmering in shades of aquamarine and cobalt. Islands dot the fjords like scattered jewels, each one home to seabirds, seals, and occasionally the rare sight of a whale breaching in the distance. Sailing through these waters, you feel both exhilaration and humility. The fjords are a testament to the relentless forces that shaped Patagonia: glacial ice, tectonic pressure, and the ceaseless push and pull of the ocean. Among the most striking coastal features is Cape Horn, the legendary maritime landmark where the Atlantic and Pacific collide. Waves here are legendary, crashing with immense power against dark cliffs. For centuries, sailors feared this point, and even today, its weather is unpredictable, its currents formidable. Standing at Cape Horn, you sense the magnitude of this place. Raw nature, untamed and unapologetic, reminding you that Patagonia's most magnificent beauty is often inseparable from its danger. But Patagonia is not just about scale. It is also about the intimate wonders that thrive amidst the grand. Small glacial lagoons, hidden in valleys, mirror the sky in crystal clarity. Flowering shrubs cling to cliffs, their colors vivid against the austere rock. Tiny streams, born from melting snowfields, cascade over stones with a sound so pure it feels like music. Even in the vastness, there is delicate life everywhere, waiting to be discovered by attentive eyes. Inland, the southern Patagonian icefield spreads like a frozen ocean, connecting glaciers and peaks in a vast network of ancient ice. Trekking here is both challenging and humbling. Every step on the hardened snow reveals the weight of history, glaciers that have endured millennia, carrying within them air, water, and mineral records from a world long before humans walked this land. Each creek and crack of ice is a reminder that nature's forces are immense, patient, and eternal. As the day draws to a close, Patagonia reveals its most breathtaking secret: the light. During the golden hours, the landscape ignites in hues that seem almost supernatural. Mountains glow orange and pink. Glaciers shimmer with sapphire and turquoise. The wind, bent trees, and rolling plains appear gilded in warmth. It is a fleeting moment, a natural spectacle that defies any camera, yet leaves an indelible mark on the memory. Finally, as night descends, the sky over Patagonia transforms into a celestial masterpiece. Stars explode across the heavens, unpolluted and brilliantly bright. The Milky Way stretches in a radiant arc, mirrored faintly in glacial lakes below. Silence dominates, broken only by the occasional call of wildlife or the distant roar of a glacier calving. In this moment, Patagonia is more than a place. It is a feeling, a state of awe, a reminder of the planet's majesty and humanity's small but cherished place within it. Patagonia teaches us many things: resilience, humility, and the beauty of untouched wilderness. It is a place where Earth's raw power is visible in every mountain, glacier, and storm-swept plain. It is a destination that transforms anyone who ventures into its embrace, leaving a lasting imprint on the heart and mind. And as our journey ends, one truth stands clear: Patagonia is not merely a destination. It is an experience, an awakening, and a love letter from nature herself. As our journey through Patagonia comes to an end, the memories of this land linger like the wind itself, ever present, ever changing, yet timeless. We've crossed endless steppe, sailed among floating icebergs, climbed alongside towering peaks, and glimpsed the resilience of life in one of the planet's most extreme environments. Patagonia reminds us that beauty is not just found in comfort or convenience. It exists in the wild, the raw, and the untamed. The glaciers, mountains, and islands will endure long after our footsteps have faded. But the experience, the awe, and the connection you felt here, that stays forever. Patagonia is a land that humbles, inspires, and transforms. And though our journey ends here, the story of this remarkable wilderness continues, carried by the wind, the ice, and the hearts of those who dare to explore it. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed exploring Prague as much as I enjoyed guiding you through it. If you found this travel guide helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more beautiful destinations from around the world. Got a favorite spot in Prague? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, safe travels and see you in the next video.